What's up, guys? Say what you want about free agency and trades, but in professional sports, the best way to build up a team is through the draft. And on the flip side, the easiest way to build a disastrous team is to simply fail at the draft. Some of the worst teams in pro sports right now have all one thing in common. They passed on future superstars and just kept drafting big-time busts instead. Take a long look at their drafting track record over the past decade, and you'll begin to understand why these clubs have been horrible for so long. I'm Jason Biondo, and today we present the 10 worst drafting teams of the last 10 years. Don't forget to subscribe to TPS and put on your notifications because we post videos every single day. Every day is a new video, so you should definitely subscribe. Make sure to leave your video ideas down below. We'll be looking, and if we pick your video idea, we're going to give you a shout out as well, so you get to be featured on the channel. And who doesn't want to be featured on TPS? Every day, I'm so proud of myself for being featured on here, and you can too. So leave your comments down below. And a big shout out to AJ Badson for suggesting this video. You're the man, AJ, and I hope you're not a bad son. Get it? Number 10, Edmonton Oilers. No, you cannot call the Edmonton Oilers a great drafting team just because they wound up with Connor McDavid. He was the most obvious draft pick of all time at first overall in 2015. Amazing the Oilers are a dumpster fire even though they picked first overall 4 times since 2010. Sure, you can credit them for drafting future stars like Taylor Hall, but Hall isn't here anymore. As for Edmonton's really pathetic drafting, well, they took Nail Yakupov first overall in 2012. He was traded 4 years later. Darnell Nurse was their first round pick in 2013. He's a top 4 blue liner, but they passed on a future stud like Max Domi. 2016 first round pick Jesse Puljujarvi hasn't become the least bit of an impact player. Oh, and the Oilers have drafted 0 productive players outside of the first round. Oiler fans can point fingers anywhere they want for their team's decade-long struggles, but at the end of the day, this team's pathetic showing at the draft is why the franchise has no hope. Number 9, Miami Dolphins. Look up the definition of mediocrity in the dictionary, and you'll see the Miami Dolphins logo. Not literally, but you get what I'm saying. This is a team that hasn't been bad enough to land top 5 picks over the past decade, but not good enough to compete for playoff berths either. Bill Belichick's New England Patriots are always drafting 28th or later, yet they always manage to pull in Pro Bowlers, while the Dolphins waste all these top 5 or top 15 picks on guys who do nothing. It's ridiculous. Taking Ryan Tannehill with the 8th selection in 2012 netted mediocre results. He was an average QB at best. This team passed on Luke Kuechly and could have had a better quarterback like Russell Wilson or Nick Foles. Remember when Miami traded up to get Oregon defensive end Deion Jordan 3rd overall in 2013? How did that pan out again? Has Devontae Parker become a productive wideout yet? Nah, but he reportedly requested a trade. Yeah, just look at this Miami team over the past decade. Cameron Wake was the one absolute stud they picked up, and he came over from the CFL. Pro Bowl wideout Jarvis Landry was traded in the 2018 offseason for some reason. Dolphins fans, we feel for you. Y'all deserve better than all of these wasted draft selections that lead to pure disappointment. Number 8, New Orleans Pelicans. Why does Anthony Davis want a trade out of New Orleans? Well, maybe the fact that his team has been so bad for so long. The Pelicans had chance after chance to supply Davis with some quality sidekicks, but under GM Dell Demps, New Orleans just kept flopping at the draft table. Taking Davis first overall in 2012 was an easy choice, but other than that, the bulk of their draft picks have been complete busts. This team selected Austin Rivers with the 10th pick in 2012, passing on future stars like Draymond Green and Chris Middleton. They used their 2009 first rounder on Darren Collison, who was out of New Orleans after 1 season. They used their 2016 first rounder on Buddy Hield, only to flip this future stud to the Sacramento Kings less than a year later. Demps had to surrender a bundle of picks to get DeMarcus Cousins for 1 year. Drew Holiday was a nice ad, but they had to surrender 2013 first rounder Nerlens Noel to get him. Yeah, it's just an ugly all-around draft resume for Mr. Demps. The Pelicans fired him in the midst of a disastrous 2018-19 season. Now we'll watch the Pelicans fall apart after they trade Davis. Number 7, New York Jets. Now, as a Jets fan, I obviously have to point out that the front office has found some studs in the likes of Muhammad Wilkerson and Sheldon Richardson. Leonard Williams and Jamal Adams look like home run selections as well, but for the most part, the Jets have been terrible on draft day. Taking Mark Sanchez with their top pick in 2009, sure, it led to a pair of AFC title game appearances, but nothing else. Sanchez unraveled quickly in the Meadowlands and was out of town in the blink of an eye. 2010 first rounder Kyle Wilson never materialized into an impact player either. Quentin Copels and D. Milner didn't do a lot either. And we're all still waiting for 2016 first-rounder Darren Lee to show some progress. And of course, the Jets haven't really found any gems outside of the first round, which NFL teams must do in order to succeed. This team at least has some nice building blocks in Williams, Adams, and quarterback Sam Darnold. But for much of the past decade, the Jets have given us fans some pretty false hope. And it all comes down to this team's awful drafting, plain and simple. Number 6, Montreal Canadiens. The Habs have actually been one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference over the past decade. They've won 3 division titles and reached the 2010 and 2014 Eastern Conference Finals. They said the bulk of this current team has been built through trades. Goalie Carey Price, the face of the franchise, was a first-round pick, but that was way back in 2005. Simply take a look at this team's first-round picks from 2009, and you'll see just how much the front office has failed finding talent. Jared Tenorti, Michael McCarron, and Nikita Sherbak were major disappointments. Alex Galchenyuk, the 3rd pick from 2012, was serviceable but widely underused during his tenure in Montreal. They traded him to the Arizona Coyotes in the 2018 offseason. A year after taking stud blue liner Mikhail Sergachev with their 2016 first-round pick, the Habs traded him to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Montreal's GM has won most of his blockbuster trades, hence why the Habs are usually a playoff team. But man, you just cringe when you look at all of the non-impact players he's drafted over the years. The Canadiens are good, but they're not great, and the only way they become great is if their GM starts hitting his draft picks. Number 5, New York Knicks. Well, that's 2 of my favorite teams. With the exception of Kristaps Porzingis, just about any impact player the New York Knicks have had over the past decade have come via trade or free agency. This includes the likes of Carmelo Anthony and Amari Stoudemire. And Porzingis isn't even on the Knicks anymore. The Knicks are widely viewed as the laughingstock of the NBA, and for good reason. The big market team can't draft a star to save their lives. It's really embarrassing, especially as a Knicks fan. Even the great Phil Jackson couldn't do anything right at the draft table. They took Jordan Hill with their first pick in 2009. Future All-Star DeMar DeRozan fell to the Toronto Raptors in the next slot. How great would Donovan Mitchell look in a Knicks uniform? Too bad the Knicks didn't select him. Nice job, Knicks. People love to laugh at the Knicks' long history of awful free agent signings and embarrassing trades, but it's their porous drafting which has left eggs on the faces of this front office. Number 4, Arizona Coyotes. The Coyotes are that team that we tend to forget exists, and for good reason. They have no franchise superstars, no real fan base, and virtually no success since they made the Western Conference Finals in 2012. Yeah, this is a boring and stale team that should just relocate already. The Coyotes have been one of the NHL's worst teams in the 2010s, and you can blame their awful drafting. Here's a list of their first-round picks since 2010. How many of these names stick out to you? 2010, Brandon Gormley, Mark Byzantine. 2011, Connor Murphy. 2012, Henrik Samuelsson. 2013, Max Domi, now a stud on Montreal. 2014, Brendan Perlini. 2015, Dylan Strome. 2016, Nick Merkley. 2017, Clayton Keller. 2017 again, Pierre-Olivier Joseph. 2018, Barrett Hayton. Sure, Keller appears to be growing into a stud, but that's just about it. Oliver Ekman-Larsson is the only all-star on this team. Oh, and Strome has emerged as a huge impact player since Arizona traded him to the Chicago Blackhawks. Yeah, it's safe to say the Coyotes have had better days. Actually, probably years at the draft table. Number 3, Cleveland Browns. Now, I kind of wanted to put the Browns in the top spot, but then they kind of nailed the 2017-18 first overall picks in Myles Garrett and Baker Mayfield, respectively. I mean, even Trent Richardson was productive in his first year with the Browns back in 2012. Because the Browns actually have an ultra-bright future now, it's just too hard to put them first overall on here. That said, we can't discount all of the high-end picks they've wasted over the years. Not to mention, they traded their 2011 first-rounder to the Atlanta Falcons, who used it to take a stud in Julio Jones. 5 years later, Cleveland surrendered a number 2 pick to the Philadelphia Eagles, who selected a franchise quarterback in Carson Wentz. The 2014 draft stings Browns fans the most. They selected Justin Gilbert with the 8th pick. The next 9 picks became Pro Bowlers, including Odell Beckham Jr. and Aaron Donald. Well, I guess they got Odell now, so that's kind of good. Cleveland then took Johnny Manziel later in the first round. One Teddy Bridgewater and Derek Carr were still there for the taking. Oh well, nearly 20 years of awful drafting has come to an end. With Mayfield and Garrett leading the way, the Browns will actually be good again, and I'm so hyped for it. I know you guys are too. So congrats, Browns fans. You're actually doing something right for once. Number 2, Minnesota Timberwolves. Unbelievable. 4 first-round picks in the 2009 NBA draft, and the T-Wolves somehow came away empty-handed. Alright, taking Ricky Rubio 5th overall wasn't a bad move, but taking Johnny Flynn with the 6th selection was horrible. And who went right after Flynn? I don't know, just some guy named Stephen Curry. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of him. He's alright. Minnesota had 3 first-round picks in the 2010 draft. They used them to select Wesley Johnson, Lazar Hayward, and Derek Williams. Too bad they passed on Gordon Hayward, Paul George, and DeMarcus Cousins in favor of Johnson. Chris Dunn and Lauri Markkanen were drafted by many then then sent to the Chicago Bulls for Jimmy Butler, who was no longer with the team. Just think about it. Minnesota could have Curry, Hayward, or Cousins. No wonder this team has only one playoff berth under its belt since 2004. Number 1. Oakland Raiders. The Raiders have made the postseason once, dating back to the 2003 season. And in the NFL, you either make or break a team through the draft. Oakland has been so bad for 15 years now because nobody in the front office can draft anymore. This beautiful graph from ESPN kind of sums up most of Oakland's horrible drafting over the years. And guess what? Oakland finally nailed 2 first-round selections in 2014 and 15, when they got Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper respectively. Of course, head coach John Gruden had to trade away both of them in 2018. 2016 first-round pick Carl Joseph looks like a massive bust. 2017 first-rounder Gary Conley still has a long way to go. And Colton Miller, the team's first selection in 2018, endured an awful rookie year. To think the Raiders could have had Aaron Rodgers, Larry Fitzgerald, and Calvin Johnson. Wow. And again, they finally found 2 stars in Mack and Cooper, only to trade away both of them. What? I get it, they're getting draft picks and they're like trying to rebuild and whatever, but just like, they're both so fire. Gruden did land himself 3 first-round picks in the 2019 draft. Maybe those guys won't be busts. Maybe the Raiders will suddenly make some good decisions on draft day. Or maybe not. We'll have to see. Who do you think is the worst drafting team of the last 10 years? Join me in the comment section below. Make sure to follow myself and TPS on social media. We post great content all the time. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. I post videos every single week and they're really entertaining. So if you want more of me, go check it out and subscribe because I'm awesome. At least I hope I am. Make sure to subscribe to TPS because we post videos every single day. Every day is a new video. Why would you not want new sports content every day? Subscribe. If you like this video, give it a like. It takes 1 click, just 1 tap. That's all you gotta do. If you've never liked a video before on YouTube, like this one just to see what it feels like. It feels good, I'm telling you. Of course, thank you so much for watching. I'm Jason Biondo. And my knee!